opportunity which you've given us to serve our community. Thank thee for the staff. We thank thee for the board. And have mercy on us that we might do that which is pleasing in our sight. And we pray for those who come seeking some help, that we might do that which is pleasing in our sight. We offer, amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Ms. Tammy, would you please call roll?
Duhon is absent. Mr. Doucette?
Here.
Mr. Williams?
Yes.
Mr. Forshey?
Here.
Mr. Connor? Mr. Breaux?
Here.
Mr. Baker?
Here.
Mr. Navarre?
Here.
Ms. Brown?
Here.
Ms. Cobb?
Here.
And Mr. Guillory?
Here.
Mr. Doucette is absent.
Mr. Duhon's absent.
Duhon, I'm sorry. Duhon.
Thank you.
They look so much alike. Well, John would be mad at me saying that.
You might have a hard time walking. This is an 11-member board. It will take a majority of those members present to grant or deny any request here tonight. The meeting will be conducted with me reading the request from the agenda. The planning staff will give a presentation and report their recommendations. If the applicant would like to add to the staff's presentation, or if someone from the audience has comments, please come to the microphone and state your name and address and the nature of your request. All persons wishing to speak, other than the applicants, need to fill out a blue card, which is at the back of the room on that table. It's a request to appear. I recommend that a spokesperson be selected if there's a large group wanting to speak on the same agenda item. After the discussion, the board will vote on each request. I will announce the decision of the board after the vote. All zoning exceptions and variances cases are final tonight. This meeting is being taped by the Calcasieu Parish Government Channel and can be viewed on Wednesday and Thursday following the meeting. For additional run dates, check the website at www.cppj.net. Channel 5 in Lake Charles and Sulphur, 61 in Moss Bluff, Westlake, Vinton, and DeQuincy, and 99 in Carlos and Grand Lake. At this time, I would like to remind everyone to turn off their cell phones and pagers, please. I'd also like to advise everyone, if you are here for the Vincent or Seymour or Simon, those two cases have been withdrawn.
He agreed with the Vincent.
Sir?
The gentleman just came in.
Yes, sir.
You were here for the Vincent case?
I represented that, and I understand it's been withdrawn.
Right. Okay.
Glad to have you. Mr. Smith. We have the item number 5 is for clarification that we had a case on February 17th. Yes, that's true. This is March, isn't it?
That's correct.
We want to take appropriate action on the clarification of the case request by Philip J. Gilliard for a zoning exception to allow commercial development, a custom rifle business at his 1785 Walker Road home in Ward 4. We approved the request, but I think as everyone kind of remembers, as he walked out, one of our stipulations stated that there would be no on-site sales, nothing at the door. So as he walked away from the mic, he kind of made that comment, well, if people come to my door, what do I do? So I think we need to clarify that to state whichever way we need to go. So
Yes, the board did approve the request with the staff recommendations, and one of those recommendations was that there would be no on-site sales. So when you approved the request, we weren't sure as a staff how we should enforce it, if the intention was to remove that stipulation or if it was to leave that stipulation on and not allow the gentleman to have on-site customers and sales. So we would just like for all of you to let us know by a vote how the true intention was. Do you need any more information to refresh your memory on the case?
But when you say on-site sales, that means if someone comes to his door and want to purchase something, that he's able to sell it to them? Or
If the board allows that to happen, yes, yes.
How are we gonna know if he got one car in his front of his house, whether they're there to visit or to buy, you know, I think we ought to pull it myself. 'Cause, I mean, he's not gonna have 20 people that are trying to order guns at one time. It may be, you know, one every in a blue moon, but he still don't want to, you know, mess up his
And I think the staff is fine with that. If you would choose to remove that stipulation, we just need to be aware from a law enforcement standpoint.
Yes, sir.
How does the occupation license read? Is it a repair shop or?
We haven't issued it yet. We wanted to get clarification on this.
Entertain them, oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, if I remember correctly, he talked about the bulk of his business is going to be done online, by mail and that type of thing, but it's just not going to be feasible for him to be located here in Calcasieu Parish and not have these guys walk in. So that was his concern. He can't assure us of that. However, I still have a concern that, you know, it might blow up if his business does really well. I mean, I know what kind of businesses some of these gun shops do. It could blow up into almost a retail-looking establishment. So I don't think we should prohibit that, but some kind of language maybe that might tell us that needs to be. We've addressed it, and we have a concern about it. It needs to be monitored, and allowing some sort of a record if things change and it starts to look like a retail business. So, and I don't, you know, maybe Mr. Smith, you can kind of guide us on that.
Yes, sir, Mr. Smith.
It seems to me that what they are charged for an occupational license depends on their earnings. And I'm wondering if what we can do is take this out, and then at the end of the year, is there a way to determine whether the earnings came from internet business or whether it came from local? Because if it's local, they're going to pay taxes, sales taxes. If it's internet, I think they don't. And so what I'm wondering is, can we track it that way at the end of the year? We say, yeah, look at here, we had 15% of it people walked in and paid taxes on. I'm just curious if we had somebody here from the Ms. Rashal to tell us about that. But I think they track the sales as to whether they're made here in Calcasieu Parish or whether they come in.
That's correct. They do that.
So we could see what percentage he's going to have at the end of 1 year, and then visit the thing again to put restrictions on it.
Aren't they trying to get where everyone pays tax on online sales?
But,
The state working on that?
I don't think we're there yet, though.
I don't think we're there yet either. Let me ask you another question. On the exception, that is for what length of time we got?
1 year?
No.
Said it.
This is a permanent exception.
It's permanent now. If his business, I mean, if his business, let's just say for some reason it does not work, and the internet and even people come into, and he just goes out of business, the zoning has not changed on it. That way we could put some sort of return trip for him, like 2 years, and come back, and if he's having lots of business, well then we got to get him back to make that decision or that change.
How would the staff monitor here forward? What mechanism would you use to be able to monitor his flow of sales being local? Sales tax, I know, is a data available, but do you use code enforcement? Who do you use to follow that?
Yes, we would use code enforcement, yes.
Mr. Duhon?
Is this an exception, or what was it exactly?
It was an exception.
Exception, okay. My thinking is we could put a lot of burden upon y'all to do a lot of investigating on this thing to see if the guy's in compliance or not, when we could just give him like a 2 or 3 year exception and revisit it, and if it's fine, we could revisit it later. And if, you know, because I have a feeling like Mr. Navarre said, I think the guy's up and up, it's legitimate and it'll run well. But, you know, by the same token, if it's a booming business with cars coming and going, we wouldn't want to subject the neighborhood. So I'm thinking a time limit would be our best bet.
Mr. West, would you like to add something?
I was going to suggest maybe do it like you would under a home occupation and do it based on the number of trips generated by the business. Then you could sort of monitor that. You know, you could monitor the number of trips that are generated to this particular business. Vehicle trips, I mean.
And how do you do that?
Well, if it gets out of hand, I guess you could put a counter, you know, at the driveway.
We'll put John out there at the driveway.
I might suggest that we leave it as is with the stipulation against on-site sales, and if it does appear that he has a high volume, maybe at that point he would come back before all of you to remove that stipulation.
Yeah, and I think the neighbors, obviously, if it becomes an issue, they're going to let us know.
Yeah,
And that'll
I think
be the
so.
trigger to go out there if that's the case. So I think that we give him a chance, and then if we do have a problem, then
Leave it as it is.
we can.
Bring him back up on the exception.
Yeah.
Well, then I think we need to remove the stipulation, because then the first one that comes to his door is he's in violation.
Right.
So
I think that's
we
that's correct.
use some other monitoring mechanism, but not leave this restriction, because the first time one of his family members comes up, he's in violation of what we've passed here. So.
Well, and I think, too, let's keep in mind that we have had a public hearing. Evidently, this gentleman has a good rapport with his neighbors and so forth. I think he made a deliberate attempt to contact as many of those as he can. And we didn't hear any complaints whatsoever, so I think we give him a chance, and then if we have issues, then we'll deal with it.
I agree. we're gonna need a motion for clarification, correct? Yeah, we need a motion either, I say we entertain it.
Move to remove stipulation for on-site sales.
Second. We have a motion by Mr. Connor and a second by Ms. Brown. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? It's removed. Item number 6, let's take appropriate action on case EX01-008-10, a request by Coffee Farms LLC for a zoning exception to allow a borrow pit of approximately 5.37 acres on North Perkins Ferry Road in Ward 1.
The petitioner's property consists of over 300 acres of A1 zone property. He does plan to do the 5-acre borrow pit here, and the board has in the past approved 2 other borrow pits at this same location. One of the petitioners owns a dirt business, and he uses the dirt in conjunction with that business. The surrounding area is mostly undeveloped, but there are some residential subdivisions in the area. And the staff recommends that the request be granted with the usual dirt pit stipulations, but with a couple modifications. The first thing is that we would ask the Planning and Zoning Board to stipulate that the development adhere to a site plan that's been approved by Entergy. Right on this property, you can see by the picture, there's an Energy High Line that runs through. So we do want to get permission from Energy for the developer to go ahead and dig out the dirt pits in that vicinity. And then we also want to limit their access to North Perkins Ferry Road. And y'all do have a revised brief in front of you that illustrates that in red.
Mr. Dillon?
The applicant's aware of these new stipulations.
Yes, yes.
I'll entertain a motion. Yes, sir.
The setback, I noticed it was left off of the application.
The petitioner's here. I don't know if,
It's not his decision, is it?
well, he can tell us the setback that he proposes, and it's in accordance with all the other pits that are out there that have been previously approved.
I've noticed some pits throughout the parish that's, they're up close to the road, and it looks like, it's getting closer to the road all the time as they slough off. And we may be a little shy on some of our setbacks on these sandy hills. The deeper they get with the pond, the more it slopes off in there. Pretty soon Wright Road will be in there.
Well, this does appear to be further off the road. I went out on the site visit, but if you look at the aerial photography, it's down a private road quite a ways. North Perkins Ferry Road runs north and south. And
Between the two red squares.
No.
Oh, no.
you turn off of North Perkins Ferry onto a dirt road.
That's showing some power. That's showing the poles, but this is kind of the,
Yeah, I've seen that.
I think that was just illustrating where the power poles were.
Anyone else? Mr. Duhon?
Yes, I think Mrs. Brown made a motion. I second that motion.
We have a motion by Mrs. Brown, a second by Mr. Duhon. All in favor, said aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. Number 7, take appropriate action on case VA 08-004-10, a request by Janet and Ashley Pultz for a zoning variance to allow a second dwelling with less than required lot square footage. What's required is 87,120 square feet. They're requesting a variance for 33,800 square feet at 2130 Manhide Road in Ward 8.
The property is about 3/4 of an acre, and it is zoned A1 agricultural. The petitioners co-own this property, and they intend to place a new manufactured home on site for the daughter, who is Ashley, and Janet currently lives in the home that's on this property. The reason that they have to come before you is that with the new zoning regulations, they have to have 2 acres, 1 acre for each residence, and they do not meet that requirement. So the staff does recommend that the request be granted with the stipulation that the development adhere to the site plan on file and that the manufactured home be skirted prior to utilities being connected.
Any discussion? Have a motion from Ms. Cobb. Second?
Second.
Mr. Duhon, second. All in favor, state aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion passes. Number 8 was withdrawn, which was the Ethel Seymour case. Number 9 was withdrawn, which was the Charlotte Griffin Vincent estate case. And then we're going to receive a report on staff, from staff on Vision Calcasieu.
And very briefly, we are currently drafting the Unified Development Code, and the first step is for us to put all of our existing codes into that one book that I've been talking about. So we're doing an audit and verifying what conflicts and what needs to go where, and we're putting that all together. And then hopefully we'll have something ready for the public to review maybe around early summertime. And then as far as Vision Calcasieu, the actual plan itself, we're still awaiting the results of the sewer study that's been ongoing for years, and also the drainage study that's going on. So hopefully once those studies are done, we'll incorporate everything into our maps for Vision Calcasieu and maybe have something for public distribution around the same time in the summer. That's about it.
Question.
Yes,
So there was a presentation some months ago before the police jury of if I'm remembering correctly, the sewer study. What stages are we in that study? Or at what point did they report out? You know, I understood that to be the sewer study. So
It's my understanding that they are finalizing the study by putting together executive master summaries of the some 20-odd volumes of work that they've done. And then they are also working on developing a community sewer ordinance for the police jury to review and possibly adopt. So we're
Time
very
frame on that?
close. 45 days.
Anyone else? The next item on the agenda is to advise that the police jury took the following action on February 18th, 2010, with reference to the recommendations of the Planning and Zoning Board on February 17th, 2010. Reeves Development was granted. We granted it, and they upheld it. The CPPJ, we granted it, they upheld it. And the ordinance amendments, we granted that, and they upheld it. The next item on the agenda is to advise that the next regularly scheduled Planning and Zoning Board meeting will be held on Tuesday, April the 20th, 2010, in the Police Jury Meeting Room at 5:30 p.m.
I'll move we adjourn.
Adjourned.